Hello there, and welcome to The Sleepy Scholar. Tonight's journey takes us out into the vastness of the timeless world of our oceans. The great blue heart of our planet beats in a slow, steady rhythm. It is a realm of liquid twilight, a cradle of life that has held the world's secrets since the beginning of time. Tonight, we will not brave its storms or challenge its depths. Instead, we will simply float upon its surface, listening to the stories it wishes to tell. The ocean is a patient historian, a quiet artist, painting the shores with its tides. It holds mountains taller than any on land and trenches deeper than our highest clouds. Its currents are great, invisible rivers, carrying warmth and life across the globe in a silent, planetary embrace. This is a place where time itself seems to slow down, measured not in minutes, but in the gentle rise and fall of the swell. We will explore the hidden gardens of coral, the silent journeys of ancient creatures, and the chemistry that allows this immense blue engine to breathe for the entire world. There is no hurry here. There is only the deep, resonant calm of the abyss and the shimmering light of the surface. Each fact is a drop of water joining the whole, reflecting the quiet majesty of our planet's great mystery. If you enjoy these quiet explorations, consider subscribing so you can easily return here whenever you need to rest. For now, get comfortable. Let your eyes grow heavy. Let's begin. The ocean covers more than 70% of our planet's surface. This immense liquid expanse is what gives our world its familiar blue appearance from space, a shimmering marble of water and cloud. It is not a single uniform body, but a connected system of 5 great basins: the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic, and Southern Oceans. Together, they hold about 97% of all the water on Earth. This vast liquid veil dictates our weather, shapes our coastlines, and serves as a home to a staggering diversity of life, much of which remains undiscovered. This great blue heart of the planet is so vast that we have explored only a tiny fraction of it, leaving its deepest canyons and darkest flaws as the last true wilderness on Earth. It is a world of quiet, patient majesty, holding continents apart and yet connecting all life through its currents. The deepest known point in the ocean is the Challenger Deep, found in the southern end of the Mariana Trench. This remote chasm in the western Pacific Ocean plunges down to a depth of nearly 36,000 feet, or almost 11,000 meters. If you were to place Mount Everest into this trench, its summit would still be submerged by more than a mile, or about 1.6 kilometers of water. Down here, the world is one of absolute darkness and stillness. The pressure is immense, over 1,000 times greater than at the surface. A heavy blanket of water that would crush most conventional vessels, yet, even in this seemingly hostile environment, life endures. Tiny, resilient organisms have been found thriving in the silt, proving that life's ingenuity is more profound than even the greatest depths. The Great Barrier Reef is the largest living structure on Earth, so vast it can be seen from space. Located off the coast of Queensland, Australia, this intricate living tapestry stretches for over 1,400 miles, or about 2,300 kilometers. It is not a single reef, but a complex mosaic of nearly 3,000 individual reefs and 900 islands, built over millennia by tiny creatures called coral polyps. These small builders secrete a hard carbonate exoskeleton, and as generations build upon the last, they create colossal cities of limestone. The reef is a vibrant, bustling metropolis, providing food and shelter for thousands of species of fish, turtles, and mollusks. It is a fragile paradise, a testament to the power of slow collective creation, breathing with the rhythm of the warm tropical sea. The ocean floor contains underwater lakes and rivers that are distinct from the surrounding seawater. These strange, flowing bodies are formed in the deep sea where brine, water that is far saltier and denser than the ocean around it, pools in depressions and basins. This super salty water does not easily mix, creating a visible shoreline and a surface upon which ROVs, or robotic submarines, can actually land. Some of these brine pools are also rich in methane and other chemicals, making them toxic to most marine life. Unwary creatures that swim into these lakes are often pickled by the brine, their preserved bodies littering the edges. Yet, for some specialized microbes, these harsh, chemical-rich waters are an oasis, a reminder that life finds a way to exist in even the most alien of environments. The blue whale is the largest animal known to have ever existed on Earth. These majestic creatures are titans of the sea, reaching lengths of up to 100 feet, or about 30 meters, and weighing as much as 200 tons. Their hearts alone can be the size of a small car, and their low-frequency calls can travel for hundreds of miles across the ocean. A deep, resonant song that connects them across vast distances. Despite their immense size, they feed almost exclusively on tiny shrimp-like animals called krill, filtering millions of them from the water each day through baleen plates. The blue whale is a gentle giant, a quiet ruler of the open ocean, and its sheer scale is a humbling reminder of the grandeur that the blue depths can produce, far beyond anything that has ever walked on land. Hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor support entire ecosystems that thrive without sunlight. These deep-sea geysers are fissures in the planet's crust, typically found near volcanic activity, where superheated water erupts from below. This water, which can reach temperatures over 750 degrees Fahrenheit or 400 degrees Celsius, is rich in minerals and chemicals like hydrogen sulfide. Instead of using sunlight for photosynthesis, the foundation of life here is chemosynthesis. Specialized bacteria and archaea harness the chemical energy from the vent's plume, converting it into food. This, in turn, supports a unique community of creatures, including giant tube worms, blind shrimp, and pale crabs. These vents are oases of life in the cold, dark abyss, a completely alien biology that shows life's profound adaptability. The ocean produces more than half of the oxygen we breathe. While we often credit rainforests as the lungs of the planet, the true engine of our atmosphere is the sea. This oxygen is not made by whales or fish, but by countless microscopic marine plants called phytoplankton. These tiny drifting organisms are a vast, invisible forest. Like plants on land, they use photosynthesis to convert sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide into energy, releasing oxygen as a byproduct. They float in the upper, sunlit layers of the water, and their collective work is monumental. Every other breath you take is a gift from this quiet, sun-drinking plankton, a silent, life-giving service performed by the smallest inhabitants of the great blue expanse. A massive system of currents, known as the global conveyor belt, slowly circulates water around the entire planet. This oceanic river is driven by differences in water temperature and salinity, a process known as thermohaline circulation. In the polar regions, cold, salty water becomes dense and sinks to the deep ocean floor. This sinking water acts like a piston, pushing the deep water along in a slow, centuries-long journey. This current flows like a great, invisible artery, transporting heat, nutrients, and oxygen from one ocean basin to another. It profoundly influences the world's climate, carrying warmth from the tropics towards the poles and regulating temperatures. It is the planet's circulatory system, a quiet, patient force that binds all the world seas into a single breathing whole. There is a mysterious phenomenon known as milky seas, where vast areas of the ocean glow with a steady, uniform light. This is different from the familiar, sparkling bioluminescence of agitated water. In a milky sea, the ocean itself appears to be a field of glowing white light, sometimes stretching for thousands of square miles or kilometers. Sailors have described it for centuries, a surreal experience of sailing over clouds. Scientists believe this rare and beautiful event is caused by an immense gathering of bioluminescent bacteria, specifically Vibrio harveyi, which may be communicating with each other. These bacteria become so numerous that their collective constant glow illuminates the water from within, turning the dark night sea into an eerie, luminous landscape. The deep ocean is a realm of immense, crushing pressure. At the surface, we experience 1 atmosphere of pressure from the air above us. In the ocean, this pressure increases by 1 atmosphere for every 33 feet, or about 10 meters of descent. This means that in the deepest trenches, nearly 7 miles, or 11 kilometers down, the pressure is over 1,100 times what it is at sea level. This is the equivalent of having the weight of 50 jumbo jets stacked on top of a single person. This immense enveloping weight is why the deep sea is so difficult to explore. It also shapes the life that lives there, forcing creatures to evolve without air-filled spaces like swim bladders. Their bodies composed almost entirely of water, existing in perfect pressurized equilibrium with the heavy, dark world around them. The ocean is salty, primarily because of the slow, steady erosion of rocks on land. For billions of years, rain has fallen on the continents. This rainwater is slightly acidic, and as it flows over the land, it patiently dissolves the rocks, releasing minerals and salts, including sodium and chloride. These dissolved salts are carried by rivers, streams, and groundwater down into the sea. When the sun's warmth evaporates water from the ocean's surface to form clouds, the salts are left behind. This cycle has been repeating for eon upon eon, causing the salts to become more and more concentrated over geological time. It is a slow planetary process, a reminder that the ocean is the great collector of all that the land has to offer, holding the taste of distant mountains and ancient plains. The deep sea is illuminated by the cold, living light of bioluminescence. In the perpetual darkness below the sun's reach, a staggering number of creatures have evolved the ability to create their own light through chemical reactions. This living light is not used for warmth, but for survival. Some fish use glowing lures to attract prey in the dark, while others, like the vampire squid, release clouds of luminous particles to confuse predators. Many organisms use patterns of light to communicate, to find mates, or to camouflage themselves against the faint light filtering from above. This counter-illumination breaks up their silhouette. The deep ocean is not a uniformly dark place, but a cosmos of silent, moving stars, a galaxy of life signaling to itself in the cold abyss. There is a specific layer in the ocean known as the deep sound channel, where sound can travel for thousands of miles. This channel, also called the SOFAR channel, exists because of the unique properties of water pressure, temperature, and salinity. Sound waves moving through it are refracted or bent back towards the channel's center, preventing them from escaping to the surface or the seafloor. They are effectively trapped within this acoustic waveguide. A sound created in this layer, like the low-frequency call of a whale, can propagate across entire ocean basins. Scientists once detected an underwater explosion from over 3,000 miles, or about 4,800 kilometers away. It is the ocean's own communication network, a whispering gallery that allows the deep songs of the sea to be heard across the world. The giant squid remains one of the ocean's most elusive and mysterious creatures. For centuries, these animals were known only from myths, sailors' tales, and the occasional carcass washed ashore, living at depths between 1,000 and 3,000 feet, or about 300 to 900 meters. In the deep, cold darkness, they are masters of the abyss. They possess the largest eyes of any animal in the kingdom, each one as large as a dinner plate, perfectly evolved to capture the faintest glimmers of bioluminescent light. It was not until 2004 that a giant squid was first photographed in its natural habitat, and not until 2012 that one was filmed alive. These fleeting encounters give us only small glimpses into the life of this deep-sea titan, a quiet, intelligent hunter who still guards its secrets far from our reach. The ocean is a vast reservoir that absorbs an enormous amount of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. It acts as a critical buffer, slowing the pace of climate change by drawing down this greenhouse gas. This absorption happens in two primary ways. First, the carbon dioxide simply dissolves in the surface water, a simple matter of chemistry. Second, the ocean's biological pump goes to work. Tiny marine organisms, the phytoplankton, consume the dissolved carbon in the same way plants on land do. When these organisms are eaten or when they die, their carbon-rich bodies sink, often settling on the deep ocean floor. This process effectively removes carbon from the surface and sequesters it in the deep sea for hundreds or even thousands of years. A slow planetary breath that helps keep the world in balance. The Atlantic Ocean is slowly growing wider. This continuous, patient expansion is driven by the process of plate tectonics. Deep beneath the center of the Atlantic lies the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, a vast underwater mountain range that is effectively a seam in the Earth's crust. Here, the North American and Eurasian plates are pulling apart. As they separate, molten magma from the Earth's mantle rises to fill the gap, cooling and solidifying to form new oceanic crust. This seafloor spreading is happening at a rate roughly comparable to how fast human fingernails grow, about 1 to 2 inches, or 2.5 to 5 centimeters per year. It is a slow, imperceptible movement, but over millions of years, it has pushed continents apart and quietly reshaped the face of our planet. A tsunami is a series of ocean waves that can travel at the speed of a jetliner. These immense waves are not generated by wind, but by the sudden, massive displacement of water, most often from an underwater earthquake, volcanic eruption, or landslide. In the deep, open ocean, a tsunami may be almost unnoticeable. Its powerful energy spread through the entire water column, sometimes showing as only a small swell a few feet or a meter high. But as this energy approaches the shallow water of a coastline, the wave slows down and begins to compress. Its height grows dramatically, transforming from a subtle pulse of energy into a towering wall of water, a powerful and sudden expression of the planet's deep geological movements. The ocean's twilight zone, or the mesopelagic zone, holds a vast, hidden biomass. This layer of the ocean begins where the sunlight fades, at about 650 feet, or 200 meters. and extends down to about 3,300 feet, or 1,000 meters. It is a world of permanent dusk, cold, and high pressure. For a long time, it was thought to be relatively barren. However, modern sonar has revealed that this zone is teeming with life, primarily small, strange-looking fish and squid. In fact, scientists now believe that the total weight of fish in the twilight zone may be more than all of the fish caught in the sunlit layers above. Many of these creatures migrate vertically, rising to the surface to feed only under the cover of night, a great daily journey that is the largest animal migration on Earth. The ocean holds a staggering amount of dissolved gold, though it is incredibly difficult to extract. Scientists estimate that, in total, the oceans contain tens of thousands of tons of this precious metal, suspended in the seawater of the world. However, this treasure is not in the form of nuggets or veins, but is spread out in an extremely dilute concentration. Just a few parts per trillion, the gold exists as tiny, microscopic particles dispersed through an almost unimaginable volume of water. This means that while the total value is immense, the cost and technical challenge of filtering such vast amounts of seawater to retrieve it is far greater than the value of the gold itself. And so, the ocean's treasure remains safe, a glittering, invisible promise dissolved within the great blue. There are ecosystems on the ocean floor, known as cold seeps, that are fueled by methane rather than sunlight. Unlike the fiery hydrothermal vents, these seeps are areas where chemicals like hydrogen sulfide and, most notably, methane, simply percolate or seep slowly from the seafloor at the same cold temperature as the surrounding water. Just as at the vents, specialized microbes form the base of this food web. These organisms have evolved to consume the methane, a process called methanotrophy. This allows entire communities to flourish in the dark, including tube worms, clams, and mussels that house these chemosynthetic bacteria within their bodies. These quiet, slow-motion oases demonstrate another, entirely different path that life can take, one fueled by the planet's internal chemistry rather than the sun's distant light. The Sargasso Sea is a unique region in the Atlantic Ocean that is defined not by land, but by ocean currents. It is a vast, calm patch of warm water, bounded on all sides by the clockwise flow of the North Atlantic Gyre. This isolation means its waters are exceptionally clear, blue, and often very still. Its name comes from the sargassum seaweed, a type of free-floating brown algae that gathers in immense, island-like mats on the surface. These floating golden rainforests are a crucial habitat in the open ocean, providing a vital nursery and feeding ground for sea turtles, crabs, shrimp, and over 100 species of fish. It is also the main known spawning ground for the European and American eels, who undertake epic migrations to be born and to die in this legendary wandering sea. The Maelstrom was a real and powerful tidal whirlpool in the Lofoten Islands off the coast of Norway. While myth and literature, particularly from writers like Edgar Allan Poe, exaggerated its power to legendary proportions, the Mostraumen is one of the strongest tidal currents in the world. It is not a single, permanent vortex pulling ships to the seabed, but rather a complex and turbulent flow of water, created as strong tides push the Norwegian Sea through a shallow strait between two islands when the tide is running at its strongest, particularly during new or full moons. The difference in sea level can create dangerous eddies and whirlpools that span over 150 feet, or about 45 meters, across. It is a powerful display of the ocean's raw tidal energy, a place where the sea's pulse becomes visible and formidable. The colossal squid, which lives deep in the Southern Ocean, has the largest eyes of any animal on Earth. These incredible organs can measure up to 11 inches, or about 27 centimeters, in diameter, making them the size of a soccer ball. In the inky darkness of the deep sea, where sunlight never penetrates, these massive eyes are not for seeing detail or color. Instead, they are giant, sensitive light detectors, evolved for one primary purpose: to spot the faint, bioluminescent glow of their prey, and more importantly, to detect the dark silhouette of their main predator, the sperm whale, as it hunts. The sheer size of the eye allows it to gather the absolute maximum number of available photons, a biological marvel built to perceive the faintest ghosts of light in a world of near-total blackness. The Pacific Ocean is the largest and deepest of the world's 5 oceans. It is a truly colossal body of water, covering more than 60 million square miles, or 155 million square kilometers. This is more than all of the Earth's land masses combined. Its name, Pacific, was given by the explorer Ferdinand Magellan, meaning peaceful sea, as he was fortunate to find it calm during his crossing. But this ocean is a place of immense power. It is ringed by the Ring of Fire, a vast horseshoe-shaped belt of volcanoes and seismic activity, where most of the world's earthquakes and tsunamis are born. It holds the deepest trenches, the highest underwater mountains, and the most remote islands on the planet, a vast blue wilderness that still defines the scale of our world. The longest mountain range on Earth is not on land, but is found under the ocean. The mid-ocean ridge system is a continuous winding chain of underwater volcanoes and mountains that stretches for over 40,000 miles, or about 65,000 kilometers, around the entire globe, like the seam on a baseball. This vast ridge is the place where new planetary crust is born. It is a great, spreading center where tectonic plates are pulling apart, allowing magma from the mantle to rise, cool, and form new seafloor. The ridge system weaves through all the major oceans, a colossal hidden feature of our planet's geology. Most of it lies thousands of feet beneath the surface, a silent volcanic world where the very surface of our planet is being constantly, patiently renewed. Coral reefs, often called rainforests of the sea, are among the most diverse and fragile ecosystems on Earth. While they cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, they are home to nearly 25% of all marine species. This incredible density of life includes thousands of species of fish, mollusks, and crustaceans. The foundation of this vibrant community is the coral polyp, a tiny animal that lives in a symbiotic relationship with an algae called zooxanthellae. The algae lives within the coral's tissue, providing it with food through photosynthesis and giving the coral its brilliant colors. In return, the coral provides the algae with a safe, sunlit home. This delicate partnership builds the massive limestone structures that protect coastlines and shelter an astonishing web of life. The Arctic Ocean is the smallest, shallowest, and coldest of the world's 5 major oceans. For much of the year, a significant portion of its surface is covered in a dynamic, shifting layer of sea ice. This ice is not static. It drifts with the winds and currents, cracking into great flows and freezing into solid sheets. This white, icy cap reflects a significant amount of sunlight back into space, playing a critical role in regulating the planet's temperature, a phenomenon known as the albedo effect. Beneath the ice, the water is a unique, cold water ecosystem, home to specialized creatures like the narwhal, the beluga whale, and the Greenland shark. It is a quiet, frozen sea at the top of the world, a place of stark beauty and critical climatic importance. There is a place in the Pacific Ocean so remote that its closest neighbors are in space. This location is known as Point Nemo, or the oceanic pole of inaccessibility. It is the point on the ocean surface that is farthest from any land, situated in the South Pacific. The nearest landmass is over 1,670 miles, or nearly 2,700 kilometers away. This extreme isolation means it is a place of very low biological activity, a marine desert. Because of its remoteness, it has been designated as a spacecraft cemetery. When old satellites and space stations, including the Mir space station, are deorbited, they are often aimed for this region, ensuring that any unburned debris falls far from human populations, into the quietest, most distant heart of the sea. The anglerfish, a resident of the deep, dark ocean, uses a remarkable and eerie method to hunt. The female of the species possesses a long, fleshy filament that grows from her head, which acts as a fishing rod. At the tip of this rod is a glowing, fleshy lure, a small light that is not lit by her own body, but by a colony of symbiotic bioluminescent bacteria that she houses and feeds in the absolute darkness of the abyss. The anglerfish waits patiently, dangling this light and twitching it to mimic a small, wayward creature. When a curious fish or squid approaches the deceptive glow, the anglerfish opens its massive, upward-facing mouth and, with lightning speed, inhales its prey, a perfectly evolved trap in the deep-sea night. Rogue waves are real, exceptionally large, and unexpectedly sudden ocean waves. For centuries, they were dismissed as maritime folklore, the exaggerated tales of frightened sailors. However, satellite and buoy data have now confirmed that these waves are not myths. A rogue wave is technically defined as a wave that is more than twice the height of the surrounding significant wave height. They appear to form from the constructive interference of several smaller, ordinary waves, which momentarily focus their energy into one colossal steep wall of water. They can appear seemingly from nowhere, even in calm seas, and are capable of sinking large ships. They are a rare, but statistically real, demonstration of the ocean's chaotic and unpredictable power, a sudden rising of the sea's deep energy. The oceans contain massive, slow-moving underwater rivers called deep-sea currents. These are not like the brine rivers on the seafloor, but are vast, globe-spanning flows that move far beneath the surface, driven by density. One of the most significant is the Antarctic bottom water. When sea ice forms in Antarctica, it leaves behind extremely cold, extremely salty, and thus extremely dense water. This water, the densest in the world, sinks and begins a long, slow journey north along the ocean floor. It creeps for thousands of miles, crossing the equator and even reaching into the North Atlantic. This current carries oxygen-rich water from the polar surface into the deep, dark abyss, ventilating the deep ocean and allowing life to exist even miles below the sun. The maw of the whale shark is one of the largest in the animal kingdom, yet it poses no threat to humans. The whale shark is the biggest fish in the sea, a gentle spotted giant that can grow over 40 feet or 12 meters long. Despite its immense size, it is a filter feeder. It cruises the warm, tropical oceans with its enormous mouth, which can be up to 5 feet or 1.5 meters wide, held open. It draws in huge volumes of water and then filters it, pushing the water out through its gills and trapping vast quantities of plankton, small fish, and fish eggs. This passive, peaceful method of feeding is a beautiful contradiction. A creature of titanic proportions, sustained entirely by the smallest, most numerous inhabitants of the sea. A quiet, patterned guardian of the sunlit waters. The ocean floor is mapped to a far lower resolution than the surfaces of the Moon and Mars. Despite covering over 70% of our planet, the vast majority of the seabed remains a mystery. The primary challenge is the water itself. Light cannot penetrate to the deep ocean floor, so we must rely on sound using sonar. However, ship-based sonar mapping is a slow, expensive process, like mowing a vast, dark lawn. As of today, only about 25% of the global seafloor has been mapped using this modern, high-resolution technology. The rest of our knowledge comes from very low-resolution satellite data. This means that great mountain ranges, vast canyons, and ancient volcanoes are still waiting, undiscovered, beneath the dark, heavy blanket of the sea. The phenomenon, known as the bloom, is the ocean's great, seasonal breath of life. In the spring, when there is more sunlight and nutrient-rich waters are brought up from the deep by winter storms, there is a massive explosion of life. This bloom is an exponential growth of phytoplankton, the microscopic plant-like organisms that form the base of the entire marine food web. The concentration of these tiny life forms becomes so great that they can color the ocean, turning patches of the sea green or turquoise in beautiful swirling patterns visible from space. This sudden abundance of food supports the next level of life, the zooplankton that graze on them, which in turn feeds the fish, and so on, jump-starting the ocean's entire engine of life for the year. The singing of the humpback whale is one of the most complex vocal displays in the animal kingdom. Only the male humpbacks sing these long, intricate, and haunting songs, primarily during the breeding season. These songs are not random. They are highly structured. They are composed of distinct themes, which are made of phrases, which in turn are made of individual notes. All the males in a single population will sing the same song in a given season, and that song will slowly evolve over time. Scientists are still unsure of the song's exact purpose, whether it is to attract females, to communicate with other males, or both. It is a deep, resonant, and evolving cultural expression, a broadcast of beautiful, complex information across the blue silence of the sea. The Gulf Stream is a powerful, warm ocean current in the Atlantic Ocean that acts like a vast, planetary heating system. It originates in the Gulf of Mexico, where the sun warms the water and then flows up the eastern coast of the United States. It then crosses the Atlantic towards Europe as the North Atlantic Drift. This current carries an immense volume of warm water, more than all the world's rivers combined. The heat it releases into the atmosphere profoundly moderates the climate of Western and Northern Europe, making countries like the United Kingdom and Ireland far milder and warmer than their latitudes would otherwise suggest. It is a great, invisible river of warmth, a conveyor belt of tropical heat that shapes the weather and history of continents far from its source. The deepest living fish ever observed so far is a type of snailfish living in the Hadal trenches of the Western Pacific. These small, translucent, and fragile-looking fish, with no scales, have been seen swimming at depths greater than 26,000 feet, or more than 8,000 meters. To survive the immense crushing pressure at this depth, their bodies are a gelatinous marvel of adaptation. They lack the air-filled swim bladders common in other fish, as these would be instantly crushed. Instead, Their bodies are held together by a unique chemical, trimethylamine N oxide, which helps stabilize their proteins and gives them their gummy texture. They are the ultimate specialists, thriving in an environment of total darkness and extreme pressure, a testament to life's ability to conquer the most inhospitable corners of our planet. Sea smoke, or frost smoke, is a mist that forms when very cold air moves over warmer ocean water. This beautiful, ethereal phenomenon is most common in polar and high-latitude regions during the winter. The warmer water evaporates, but the cold, dry air above it can hold very little moisture. As the rising water vapor hits the frigid air, it immediately condenses into tiny ice crystals or supercooled water droplets, forming a thick, swirling mist that looks like smoke or steam rising from the sea surface. It is a visual representation of the ocean's heat, a visible transfer of energy from the relatively warm water to the freezing air. It makes the ocean appear as if it is gently simmering, a quiet, magical display in the cold, still air. There is a natural underwater waterfall in the ocean that is far larger than any on land. Located in the Denmark Strait between Greenland and Iceland, this is not a cascade of water over a rocky cliff, but a flow of water driven by density. Here, cold, dense water from the Nordic seas meets the warmer, lighter water of the Irminger Sea. The heavy, cold water spills over an immense undersea ridge, plunging down the continental slope. This underwater cataract drops more than 11,500 feet, or 3,500 meters, and carries over 175 million cubic feet, or 5 million cubic meters, of water per second. This is thousands of times the flow of a large river like the Amazon. It is a silent, colossal, and slow-motion waterfall, a key part of the great global conveyor belt. The coconut crab, which lives on islands in the Indian and Pacific Oceans, is the largest land-living arthropod in the world. While they are a type of hermit crab, they abandon their shells as adults and develop a hard, tough exoskeleton. These crabs can weigh up to 9 pounds, or about 4 kilograms, and have a leg span of over 3 feet, or 1 meter. They are famous for their powerful claws, which they use to crack open their favorite food, coconuts. They are also incredible climbers, often scaling tall palm trees to either find coconuts or to escape the heat. Despite their size and terrestrial life, they are still tied to the ocean. They must return to the sea to lay their eggs, beginning their life as tiny planktonic larvae adrift in the great blue. The ocean surface is not flat. It has hills and valleys, just like land. These features are not waves, but vast, permanent mounds and depressions in sea level, shaped by gravity and ocean currents. Satellites with sensitive altimeters can detect these changes, which can vary by as much as 6 feet, or about 2 meters. For example, massive swirling currents called gyres, driven by wind and the Earth's rotation, tend to pile up water in their centers, creating a broad, high hill. Conversely, gravity itself is not uniform across the globe. A massive underwater mountain, a seamount, has more mass and thus more gravity, and will pull water towards it, creating a permanent hill in the ocean's surface directly above it. In this way, the ocean's surface acts as a quiet liquid mirror, reflecting the unseen topography and hidden forces at play in the deep. The Antarctic ice sheet, together with the sea ice that surrounds the continent, holds about 90% of all the ice on Earth. This colossal frozen cap covers an area of about 5.4 million square miles, or 14 million square kilometers, and is, on average, over a mile, or about 1.6 kilometers, thick. If this entire ice sheet were to melt, global sea level would likely rise by almost 60 meters, or around 190 feet. This immense reservoir of fresh water is not static. It is a slow-moving river of ice, with glaciers flowing from the continent's interior out to the sea. Where they break off as icebergs, it is the planet's great white frozen heart, a cold, silent guardian that holds the world's oceans in their current balance. The color of the ocean is blue, primarily because of the way water absorbs light. The water molecule is very good at absorbing longer, redder wavelengths of light from the sun. The shorter, bluer wavelengths, however, are not absorbed as easily. Instead, they are scattered by the water molecules, and this scattered blue light is what eventually reaches our eyes. This is why deeper, clearer water appears a rich, deep blue. In coastal areas, the water may look greener or more brown. This is because the water contains other particles, like sediment from rivers or tiny living phytoplankton. These particles also scatter light, and their own colors, like the green chlorophyll in the plankton, mix with the blue light of the water, changing its tint, painting the sea with the story of what it carries. The Cambrian explosion was a sudden, monumental burst of life that occurred in the oceans about 541 million years ago. For 3 billion years before this, life had been almost exclusively simple and microscopic. Then, in a relatively short geological span of just a few million years, the oceans suddenly became populated with an incredible diversity of complex, multicellular animals. This is the period when almost all major animal body plans that exist today first appeared in the fossil record. Creatures with shells, spines, legs, and complex eyes emerged in a flurry of evolutionary creation. Scientists are still exploring the causes, which may have been a perfect convergence of rising oxygen levels, genetic advances, and an arms race between new predators and prey, all within the ocean's protective, life-giving embrace. The narwhal, a whale of the Arctic Ocean, has a single long tusk that is actually a greatly elongated tooth. This tusk, which can grow up to 10 feet or 3 meters long, is almost always found on the male and grows in a left-handed spiral, protruding directly through its upper lip. For centuries, its purpose was a deep mystery, with theories ranging from an ice pick to an acoustic weapon. Now, scientists believe it is a remarkable sensory organ. The tooth is filled with millions of tiny, sensitive nerve endings that connect the outside ocean water to the whale's brain. This allows the narwhal to detect subtle changes in the water, such as temperature, pressure, and most importantly, the salinity, which helps it find its prey and navigate the shifting sea ice, a living sensor in the cold, dark north. The Greenland shark is one of the longest living vertebrates on Earth, with a lifespan that may reach 400 years or more. These slow, quiet creatures inhabit the cold, deep waters of the North Atlantic and Arctic Oceans. They are true ancients of the deep, growing at an incredibly slow rate of less than half an inch, or about 1 centimeter per year. Their metabolism is so profoundly slow that they swim at a very gentle, cruising pace, conserving energy in the frigid darkness. Scientists have determined their remarkable age by carbon dating the proteins in their eye lenses, a part of the body that forms before birth and does not change. These sharks are living, swimming histories, silent witnesses to centuries of change in the world above, carrying the deep, slow time of the abyss within them. The cuttlefish is a master of camouflage. able to change its skin color and texture in an instant. This remarkable ability comes from a complex system of specialized cells in its skin. It has millions of tiny pigment-filled sacs called chromatophores, which it can expand or contract with its muscles to create patterns of color. Beneath this layer, it has iridophores, which are like tiny iridescent mirrors that reflect light, creating shimmering greens, blues, and golds. Finally, it has leucophores, which scatter ambient light, allowing it to perfectly match the brightness of its surroundings. It can even change the physical texture of its skin, creating bumps and spines to mimic a rock or a piece of coral. It is a living canvas, a quiet, intelligent artist of the reef. The ocean has a smell that is caused by a chemical called dimethyl sulfide, or DMS. That distinct, briny, and slightly sulfuric scent that we associate with the sea is the smell of marine life at work. DMS is produced when a chemical, DMSP, is broken down. This parent chemical is made in enormous quantities by marine algae and phytoplankton. When these phytoplankton are eaten by other creatures, like krill, or when they die and are decomposed by bacteria, the DMSP is released and breaks down into DMS, which then escapes the water as a gas. This gas not only creates the familiar ocean smell, but is also a critical player in the climate. It seeds clouds as water vapor in the atmosphere condenses around the tiny DMS particles, helping to form the planet's weather. The Portuguese man-of-war, which looks like a single jellyfish, is actually a complex colonial organism. It is not one animal, but a siphonophore, a floating cooperative city of 4 different types of specialized polyps. Each polyp has a specific job and cannot survive on its own, but together they function as one. The top polyp is the float, a gas-filled iridescent blue bladder that acts as a sail, catching the wind. Another set of polyps forms the digestive and reproductive organs. A third set forms the long, stinging tentacles, which can trail 30 feet or 9 meters or more and are used to catch prey. The final set is responsible for reproduction. It is a masterpiece of natural cooperation, a beautiful, venomous fleet that drifts at the mercy of the wind and currents. The parrotfish is a vital sand-making machine for tropical reefs. This brightly colored fish has a set of incredibly strong, fused-together teeth that form a beak, much like a parrot's. It uses this powerful beak to scrape algae off of coral. In the process, it grinds up the hard calcium carbonate of the coral skeleton itself. After digesting the algae and the soft polyps, the fish excretes the indigestible coral skeleton as fine, white sand. A single large parrotfish can produce hundreds of pounds or kilograms of this beautiful sand every single year. This process is not only a source of the pristine white sands of many tropical beaches, but is also a crucial part of the reef's life cycle, clearing old coral to make space for new, young polyps to settle and grow. The deepest underwater volcanoes are known as seamounts. There are estimated to be over 100,000 of these mountains rising from the ocean floor, with most remaining unmapped and unexplored. Many are ancient, extinct volcanoes, but some are still active, erupting molten lava into the cold, deep water. When lava erupts at these great depths, the immense pressure of the overlying water prevents it from exploding. Instead, it forms pillow lava, a unique, rounded, and bulbous shape that is created as the hot lava's surface is instantly quenched and solidified by the cold sea, forming a glassy crust. These seamounts often become oases of life in the deep ocean, as their steep, rocky slopes create complex habitats and direct currents, bringing nutrients to the sponges, corals, and fish that colonize them. Tidal bores are a rare and remarkable phenomenon where a true rushing wave of water travels up a river from the sea. This happens when a particularly strong incoming tide, often during a full or new moon, is funneled by a wide, shallow bay into a narrow river channel. The force of the tide becomes concentrated, and instead of the water level rising slowly, the incoming water forms a single solitary wave, or a series of waves that moves upstream, often against the river's natural current. These bores can be a few inches or several centimeters high, or in some parts of the world, like the Qiantang River in China, they can be towering walls of water, a dramatic, visible display of the ocean's powerful lunar pulse pushing its way inland. The vampire squid is a unique, ancient creature that lives in the deep, dark, and low oxygen parts of the ocean. It is not a true squid, but it is not an octopus either. It is the last surviving member of its own special order. Its name comes from its dark, webbed arms, which it can spread out to look like a cape. When threatened, it doesn't release a cloud of black ink. Instead, it inverts its cape, wrapping its arms around its body to reveal a set of bioluminescent eyes. At the same time, it can eject a cloud of glowing, sticky mucus. This cloud of light particles hangs in the water, dazzling and confusing a predator, while the vampire squid, now hidden, drifts away in the darkness. The ocean's biological pump is a crucial, natural process for storing carbon. It begins at the sunlit surface with phytoplankton, the microscopic marine plants. These tiny organisms absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere through photosynthesis, incorporating the carbon into their bodies. When these organisms are eaten by zooplankton, or when they die, this carbon begins its journey to the deep. Some of it sinks as marine snow, a continuous slow shower of dead organic matter, fecal pellets and dust. This carbon-rich material can drift for weeks, and much of it is eaten by deep-sea creatures on its way down. But a portion of it makes it all the way to the deep ocean floor, where it is buried in the sediment, effectively locking that carbon away from the atmosphere for thousands or even millions of years. The Gulf of Mexico contains a massive, ancient salt desert under its seafloor. This enormous layer of salt was formed over 100 million years ago, during the Jurassic period, when a shallow, ancient sea in that region evaporated, leaving behind a thick crust of salt. Over eons, this salt layer was buried under thousands of feet, or meters, of mud and sand carried by rivers like the Mississippi. This overlying sediment is heavy, but the salt beneath it is lighter and more buoyant. Under this immense pressure, the buried salt has slowly risen, pushing its way up through the sediment to form great dome-like structures. These salt domes are of great interest, as they are famous for trapping pockets of oil and natural gas deep beneath the ocean floor. The pistol shrimp is a tiny creature that can create a sound louder than a jet engine. This shrimp, which is often only an inch or two, or a few centimeters long, has one oversized, specialized claw. It can cock this claw open, where a special joint locks it in place. When it snaps the claw shut, it does so with incredible speed. This snap doesn't hit anything, but it moves so fast that it shoots a tiny, powerful jet of water and creates a bubble of water vapor, a process called cavitation. When this bubble collapses, it releases a small, brilliant flash of light, reaches temperatures comparable to the surface of the sun, and creates an acoustic shockwave measured at more than 200 decibels at close range. This stunning blast is used to stun prey, a miniature thundering weapon in the quiet reef. The red tide is a natural phenomenon where a species of algae, a type of phytoplankton, grows rapidly or blooms to the point where it discolors the water. While sometimes the water turns a deep rusty red, it can also appear brown or green. Not all of these blooms are harmful, but some species produce potent natural toxins. These toxins can become concentrated in shellfish, like clams and mussels, which filter the algae from the water. While this doesn't harm the shellfish, it can be dangerous or even fatal to the fish, birds, marine mammals, and humans who eat them. These blooms are a powerful, and sometimes dangerous, expression of the ocean's immense microscopic life force suddenly and overwhelmingly making itself visible. The immortal jellyfish, Turritopsis dohrnii, has a remarkable ability to reverse its life cycle. Most jellyfish live and die like other animals. This tiny creature, however, which is only a few millimeters wide, has a unique escape from death. When it faces a mortal threat, such as physical damage, starvation, or old age, it can revert to its earliest stage of life. The adult jellyfish, the medusa, sinks to the ocean floor, and its body and tentacles are reabsorbed. It transforms back into a polyp, a tiny stalk-like creature. This polyp is genetically identical, and from this juvenile stage, it can eventually bud off and grow into new adult jellyfish, which are clones of the original. It is a true biological phoenix, endlessly cycling between youth and maturity. The ocean floor is home to cold water corals that thrive in total darkness. When we think of corals, we picture shallow, sunlit tropical reefs. However, there are vast coral gardens in the deep, cold, and dark waters of the world, from Norway to Antarctica. Unlike their tropical cousins, these corals do not have symbiotic algae, so they do not need sunlight to survive. Instead, they are filter feeders, capturing tiny food particles that drift by in the deep currents. They grow incredibly slowly, sometimes only a few millimeters per year, and some of the reef structures they form are thousands of years old. They are fragile, ancient cities, a testament to life's slow, patient artistry in the cold, silent abyss. The coelacanth is a living fossil, a fish that was once thought to have gone extinct with the dinosaurs. This large, ancient fish, with its distinctive, fleshy, lobe-like fins, was known only from fossils that were over 65 million years old. Then, in 1938, a living specimen was miraculously discovered, caught by a fishing trawler off the coast of South Africa. This was a profound, shocking discovery, like finding a living dinosaur. A second population was later found in Indonesia. These deep-water fish live in undersea caves, moving their fins in a way that resembles a land animal's walk. They are a quiet, stable, and enduring lineage, a window into a truly ancient time, still swimming in the dark, hidden corners of the sea. The Hadal Zone, named after the underworld, is the deepest region of the ocean. This zone consists of the deep-sea trenches, which are the V-shaped gashes in the sea floor that begin at depths of about 20,000 feet, or 6,000 meters. This is a world of total permanent darkness, near freezing temperatures, and pressure that is 1,000 times greater than at the surface. It was long believed to be a dead zone, too hostile for any life to exist. Yet, exploration with robotic landers has revealed that life is abundant, though specialized. These trenches act like funnels, collecting the marine snow and other organic matter that falls from above. This feeds communities of unique, gelatinous creatures, snailfish, and vast mats of microbes that have adapted to, and perhaps even thrive upon, the immense, crushing weight of the world above them. The ocean floor is covered in a graveyard of ancient, tiny shells. This soft, chalky sediment, known as calcareous ooze, is formed from the accumulated remains of countless microscopic organisms. Primarily foraminifera and coccolithophores, these tiny planktonic creatures build intricate, beautiful shells out of calcium carbonate, the same material as chalk and limestone. When they die in the sunlit waters above, their tiny mineral skeletons begin a long, slow journey, drifting down for weeks or months to the deep ocean floor. Over millions of years, this gentle, continuous rain of shells builds up in thick layers, creating a pale, soft blanket that covers more than half of the deep seabed. This ooze is a quiet planetary archive, a library holding the chemical history of the ocean in its microscopic, fossilized pages. The bobtail squid has a unique, symbiotic partnership that allows it to erase its own shadow. This small, nocturnal creature hunts in shallow waters, and on clear nights, the moonlight from above would normally cast a dark silhouette, making it an easy target for predators hunting from below. To solve this, the squid cultivates a colony of bioluminescent bacteria, Vibrio fischeri, in a special internal light organ. The squid can control the intensity of the light produced by these bacteria, perfectly matching the brightness of the moonlight and starlight filtering down from the surface. This counter-illumination effectively camouflages the squid, making it invisible from below. It is a living, breathing cloaking device, a perfect, quiet collaboration between an animal and its glowing microbial partners. The blobfish, which became famous for its gelatinous, grumpy appearance, looks very different in its natural habitat. This deep-sea fish lives off the coasts of Australia and New Zealand, at depths between 2,000 and 4,000 feet, or about 600 to 1,200 meters. At these depths, the pressure is immense, over 100 times that at the surface. To survive, the blobfish has a body that is mostly a gelatinous mass, with a density just slightly less than water. This allows it to float and drift just above the seafloor without expending any energy swimming. When it is brought to the surface, the rapid, complete loss of that pressure causes its body to decompress and collapse, giving it the sagging, unhappy look. In its own deep, dark, high-pressure world, it is a perfectly adapted and much more ordinary-looking floating hunter. The mola, or ocean sunfish, is the heaviest known bony fish in the world. These strange and wonderful creatures can weigh over 5,000 pounds or 2,200 kilograms and can grow to be 10 feet or 3 meters long. They appear as if they are just a giant head with fins, as their tail never develops and is instead replaced by a truncated, rudder-like structure called a clavus. They are often seen sunbathing at the surface, lying on their sides, which scientists believe is a way to warm up their bodies after diving deep into the cold water to hunt for jellyfish. Despite their immense size, they are gentle, slow-moving plankton eaters. They are a quiet, ancient, and beautifully strange presence, a great silver disk drifting with the ocean's currents. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is a vast accumulation of marine debris in the North Pacific Ocean. It is not a solid island of trash, but a diffuse, swirling soup of microplastics, suspended in the upper water column. This area is a large natural gyre, a system of rotating currents that acts like a gentle whirlpool, drawing in and trapping debris. The plastic in this patch is not biodegradable. It simply photodegrades, meaning the sun breaks it down into smaller and smaller pieces. These tiny toxic fragments are often mistaken for food by marine animals, from the smallest plankton to the largest whales, entering the food web at every level. It is a somber, silent testament to the far-reaching and persistent signature of human activity, carried by the ocean to its most remote, quiet centers. The ocean has dead zones, or hypoxic zones, which are areas with so little oxygen that most marine life cannot survive. These zones can be natural, but many are expanding due to human activity. They are often caused by an excess of nutrients, particularly nitrogen and phosphorus, running off from agricultural land and into rivers that feed the sea. These nutrients trigger massive algae blooms. When this vast amount of algae dies, it sinks and is decomposed by bacteria, and this decomposition process consumes enormous amounts of oxygen, suffocating the water. Fish and crabs must flee, while slower moving creatures like clams and worms perish. These areas are a stark, silent warning, a place where the ocean's very breath has been taken away, leaving a silent, empty, and aquatic desert. The sperm whale has the largest brain of any animal that has ever lived on Earth. This massive organ can weigh up to 20 pounds, or about 9 kilograms, and is housed in a colossal squared-off head that makes up about 1/3 of the whale's total body length. This whale is a titan of the deep, a champion diver that can plunge to depths of over 6,500 feet, or 2,000 meters, and hold its breath for over 90 minutes. It hunts in the total darkness of the abyss, using a powerful biological sonar, a series of clicking sounds, to find its primary prey. The giant squid, the sperm whale, is a creature of profound scale and intelligence, a quiet, deep-thinking hunter that navigates a world of pressure and darkness that we can barely imagine. Icebergs are enormous chunks of freshwater ice that have broken off from glaciers or ice shelves and are now floating in the open ocean. The saying, "the tip of the iceberg," is a physical truth, as about 90% of an iceberg's total mass is hidden beneath the water's surface. This is because the density of pure, frozen ice is only slightly less than that of salty seawater. They are not frozen seawater, but are made of compressed snow that fell on land, sometimes tens of thousands of years ago. As they drift, they slowly melt, releasing their ancient fresh water and trapped minerals into the sea. They are beautiful, dangerous, and majestic, floating frozen mountains, a slow, silent, and cold migration from the land into the great blue sea. The sea cucumber has a remarkable and rather strange defense mechanism. When threatened by a predator, such as a sea star or a large crab, some species of sea cucumber will dramatically and forcefully expel their own internal organs. They contract their muscles and shoot out a tangled, sticky mass of their respiratory and digestive systems through their anus. This sticky and sometimes toxic offering is meant to startle, entangle, and confuse the predator, giving the sea cucumber time to slowly crawl away. This seemingly fatal act is not permanent. The sea cucumber has incredible powers of regeneration. Over the next few weeks, it will patiently and completely regrow all of its lost internal parts, a true master of sacrifice and renewal. The nautilus is a living link to an ancient past, a living fossil that has survived, almost unchanged, for 500 million years. This deep-sea cephalopod, a relative of the squid and octopus, is the only one of its kind to have a true external, chambered shell. As the nautilus grows, it adds new, larger chambers to its shell, sealing off the old, smaller ones it no longer lives in. It controls its buoyancy by pumping gas and fluid into and out of these sealed, empty rooms through a small central tube. This allows it to rise and fall through the water column, a perfect, natural submarine. It has survived every mass extinction event in Earth's history, a quiet, patient, and beautiful spiral, still drifting through the deep, dark reefs of the Pacific. Mangrove forests are a unique and vital ecosystem that thrives at the boundary between land and sea. These forests are made up of salt-tolerant trees and shrubs that grow in the brackish coastal waters of the tropics. They are easily recognizable by their dense, tangled web of prop roots, which arch down from the trunk and into the mud. These roots not only anchor the trees in the unstable, shifting sediment, but also act as snorkels, helping the trees breathe in the low oxygen soil. This root system is a crucial living barrier. It dissipates the power of storm waves, protecting the coastline from erosion. It also acts as a vital, complex nursery, providing a safe, sheltered, and nutrient-rich habitat for young fish, crabs, and shrimp. The marine iguana of the Galapagos Islands is the only lizard in the world that forages for its food in the sea. This unique, dark-colored reptile has evolved remarkable adaptations to survive its ocean-going life. It has a flattened tail that allows it to swim with a powerful, snake-like motion, and strong, long claws to grip the volcanic rocks in the face of strong currents. It dives to feed on the green algae that grows on the submerged rocks. To survive the cold, deep water, it has a special solar-powered lifestyle, spending hours basking on the black volcanic rocks, absorbing the sun's heat before and after its dives. It also has special glands in its nose that allow it to sneeze out the excess salt it consumes, a true hybrid creature of both land and sea. The sea otter is a keystone species that holds its entire ecosystem in balance. These intelligent, playful mammals live in the kelp forests of the Pacific coast. Their primary food source is the sea urchin. Without sea otters, these urchin populations would explode, and they would graze the ocean floor, eating the holdfasts, or roots, of the giant kelp. This would destroy the great underwater kelp forests, which are a vital habitat and nursery for hundreds of other species. By keeping the sea urchin population in check, the sea otters protect the kelp, allowing the entire vibrant forest ecosystem to flourish. They are the quiet, furry guardians of the coastal reefs, floating on their backs and unknowingly performing a job of monumental ecological importance. The beluga whale is often called the canary of the sea for its remarkable and varied vocalizations. These pale white whales of the Arctic are among the most vocal of all cetaceans, producing a symphony of high-pitched clicks, whistles, chirps, and moans. They use this complex language to communicate with each other in the dark, icy waters, to find prey, and to navigate. Unlike other whales, the beluga has a soft, fatty melon on its forehead that is extremely flexible, and it can change the shape of this organ to direct and focus its sounds. They also have unfused neck vertebrae, allowing them to turn their heads, giving them an expressive and almost human-like ability to look around. They are the social, curious, and talkative spirits of the cold northern sea. The mantis shrimp has the most complex eyes in the entire animal kingdom. While humans have 3 types of color-receptive cone cells, this small, brightly colored crustacean has 12 to 16. This means they can perceive a vast spectrum of colors that are completely invisible to us, including light in the ultraviolet range. Furthermore, their eyes are mounted on separate mobile stalks, and each eye has 3 focal points. This means each eye, independently, has trinocular vision, giving them an incredible ability to perceive depth and distance. They can also see different types of polarized light, an ability researchers are still just beginning to understand. It is a small, aggressive hunter that sees the reef in a kaleidoscope of detail and color that we can only dimly imagine. The barnacle is a small marine crustacean that spends its adult life cemented to one spot. After a free-swimming larval stage, the barnacle attaches itself head first to a hard surface like a rock, a ship's hull, or even a whale, using a powerful secreted cement. It then builds a fortress of overlapping calcareous plates around its body. To feed, it opens the doors of its shell and extends its long feathery legs, called cirri, into the current. It rhythmically waves these legs, filtering tiny plankton and food particles from the water. It is a creature of ultimate patience, forever bound to one place, trusting the great, moving ocean to bring it all the nourishment it needs to survive. A small, feathery, and persistent life. The Southern Ocean is the newest, most recently recognized of the world's 5 oceans. Officially named in 2000, this body of water is not defined by the continents that surround it, but by a powerful oceanic current. It is the great, swirling band of water that encircles Antarctica. Its northern boundary is the Antarctic Convergence, a natural circular line where the cold, northward flowing Antarctic waters meet the warmer waters of the oceans to the north. It is a wild, cold, and stormy sea, home to the strongest winds and largest waves on the planet. It is also a place of immense, rich life, its cold, nutrient-filled waters supporting vast blooms of krill, which in turn feed the whales, seals, and penguins of the polar south. The Hawaiian monk seal is one of the most endangered marine mammals in the world. These unique, solitary seals are native to the remote and mostly uninhabited northwestern Hawaiian islands. Unlike most other seals, they live in warm, tropical waters. They are named for the smooth, monk-like appearance of their heads, and for their solitary, reclusive nature. They spend most of their time in the sea, but they haul out onto the pristine, sandy beaches to rest, give birth, and nurse their pups. With only about 1,600 individuals remaining, they are a precious and fragile relic of an older, wilder Hawaii, a quiet, gentle, and endangered spirit of the warm, blue Pacific. The Christmas Island red crab undertakes one of the most spectacular mass migrations on Earth, all of which is dictated by the ocean. For most of the year, these large, land-dwelling crabs live in the damp, shaded forests of their small island in the Indian Ocean. But at the beginning of the wet season, an ancient internal clock is triggered. Millions upon millions of these crabs begin a great, synchronized march from the forest down to the sea. The timing is precise, as they are driven to reach the coast at a specific phase of the moon and tide. The males arrive first, and after mating, the females wait for the perfect tidal moment to release their billions of eggs into the ocean, trusting the sea to carry the next generation of life. The ocean is slowly becoming more acidic as it absorbs carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. The sea has always been a great stabilizing partner to the air, absorbing about a quarter of all the carbon dioxide we release. But this vital service is changing the water's fundamental chemistry. When the carbon dioxide dissolves, it forms carbonic acid, which then releases hydrogen ions. These ions increase the water's acidity, a process measured as a lowering of its pH. This is not a violent change, but a slow, pervasive, and silent shift. This rising acidity makes it more difficult for creatures like corals, clams, and tiny plankton to build their protective shells and skeletons from calcium carbonate. The ocean is quietly and patiently taking on a heavy burden, its very nature shifting on a molecular level in response to the world above. The Dumbo octopus gets its name from the prominent ear-like fins that sit on top of its head. These deep-sea octopods live at extreme depths, sometimes as deep as 13,000 feet, or about 4,000 meters, drifting slowly through the cold, permanent darkness. Unlike other octopods, they do not have an ink sac, as ink would be useless in a world without light. Instead of using jet propulsion, they move with a gentle, beautiful, and slow grace, rhythmically flapping their large ear-like fins to float and hover, almost like a small elephant flying. Their webbed arms are used to steer and to capture small worms and crustaceans from the seafloor. They are a gentle and almost whimsical spirit of the deep, a quiet, balloon-like creature navigating the silent, pressurized abyss. The Great Blue Hole, off the coast of Belize, is a giant, perfectly circular underwater sinkhole. This natural wonder is over 1,000 feet, or about 300 meters, across and plunges to a depth of about 410 feet, or 125 meters. This is not a feature of the modern ocean, but a relic of a much colder past. During the last ice age, when sea levels were hundreds of feet lower, this was a massive dry limestone cave system on land. As the ice caps melted and the ocean rose, the cave's roof collapsed, and the entire system was flooded by the sea. Divers who have explored its depths have found giant, ancient stalactites and stalagmites still hanging from its underwater ceilings, a silent, geological memory of a time when this deep, blue chasm was once filled only with air and darkness. The abyssal plains are the vast, flat, and nearly featureless expanses that cover the deep ocean floor. These plains are among the flattest and smoothest places on the entire planet, found at depths between 10,000 and 20,000 feet, or about 3,000 to 6,000 meters. They cover more than 50% of the Earth's total surface. Their profound flatness is the result of millions of years of marine snow. This is a continuous, slow, and gentle rain of sediment, the dust of continents mixed with the tiny, skeletal remains of plankton from the sunlit waters far above. This sediment, called ooze, patiently buries the rugged, volcanic terrain of the ocean crust, smoothing it over like a deep, soft blanket. They are the great, dark, and silent deserts of the world, the final, quiet resting place for the dust of the surface. The ocean acts as a massive liquid battery that stores and transports the sun's energy, driving the world's weather. Water has an incredibly high heat capacity, meaning it can absorb an enormous amount of solar energy without its own temperature rising very much. The land, by contrast, heats up and cools down quickly. The ocean patiently soaks up the sun's warmth all summer, and then slowly, gently releases that heat back into the atmosphere all winter, moderating the planet's climates. This same heat provides the fuel for the greatest storms on Earth. Hurricanes are born over warm, tropical waters. acting as colossal engines that draw up that stored solar energy, converting it into wind and rain, a powerful and dramatic expression of the ocean's deep thermal power. The albatross is a master of the open ocean winds, capable of traveling for thousands of miles with almost no effort. This magnificent seabird, with the largest wingspan of any bird, up to 11 feet or 3.5 meters, spends most of its life at sea. It has perfected a technique called dynamic soaring. It uses the wind gradient just above the waves, where the wind is slower at the surface and faster higher up. The albatross glides downwind to gain speed, then turns sharply into the wind, using its momentum to rise up into the faster air, gaining height. It then turns and glides back down again, a continuous looping and beautiful figure eight. It can lock its wings in place, soaring for hours or even days, a tireless, graceful, and solitary wanderer of the great southern seas. Giant kelp, which forms the kelp forests, is not a plant, but a colossal, fast-growing type of algae. These underwater forests are among the most productive and dynamic ecosystems on Earth. A single blade of giant kelp can grow at an astonishing rate, up to 2 feet or 60 centimeters, in a single day under ideal conditions. It is anchored to the rocky sea floor, not by roots, but by a tough, branching structure called a holdfast. To reach the sunlit surface from the deep, each frond is supported by small, gas-filled bladders, or pneumatocysts, that act like tiny, natural buoys. These golden, swaying, and towering forests provide a complex, three-dimensional habitat, a vital, sheltered, and sun-powered cathedral for countless fish, otters, and invertebrates. The intertidal zone is the resilient and challenging world that exists between the high and low tide marks. The creatures that live here must endure a life of constant and dramatic change. For part of the day, they are fully submerged in the cold, salty ocean. For the other part, they are exposed to the dry air, the hot sun, or freezing winds. They must also withstand the crashing physical force of the waves. To survive this, life has evolved in remarkable ways. Mollusks like limpets and periwinkles have hard, cone-shaped shells to seal in moisture and deflect waves. Mussels anchor themselves with incredibly strong, fibrous byssal threads. Sea anemones retract their delicate tentacles, turning into small, gelatinous blobs to wait for the water's safe return. It is a world of pure, adaptive tenacity. The deep ocean is not a silent place. It is filled with a rich and constant soundscape. Sound travels much faster and much farther in water than it does in air, and in the deep ocean, it can propagate across entire basins. This soundscape is a complex symphony from 3 different sources. There is the geophony, the deep, low-frequency rumbles of the planet itself, underwater earthquakes, the cracking of sea ice, and the flow of water through deep-sea vents. There is the biophony, the living sounds, the clicks, whistles, and moans of whales, the snapping of shrimp, and the grunts of fish. And increasingly, there is the anthrophony, the pervasive global hum of human activity, primarily the powerful low-frequency thrum of cargo ship engines, a new mechanical note in the ancient, deep song of the sea. The Challenger expedition of 1872 to 1876 is considered the birth of modern oceanography. This 4-year globe-spanning voyage was the first expedition dedicated purely to marine science. Aboard a refitted naval corvette, scientists sailed nearly 70,000 nautical miles, or 130,000 kilometers, systematically exploring the world's oceans. They were the first to truly sample the deep sea, dredging the ocean floor and taking temperature readings from the abyss. Their findings were revolutionary. They discovered that life existed even in the deepest, darkest, and coldest parts of the sea, identifying over 4,700 new species of marine life. They were the first to systematically map the seafloor, discovering the mid-Atlantic ridge and taking the first soundings of what would later be known as the Mariana Trench, opening the door to the hidden deep-sea world. Whales play a crucial vertical role in fertilizing the ocean, a process known as the whale pump. Many whales, like the sperm whale, dive to great depths to hunt in the dark, but they must always return to the surface to breathe. It is here, in the sunlit photic zone, that they release enormous buoyant plumes of feces. This waste is incredibly rich in iron and nitrogen, essential nutrients that are often scarce in the surface waters. These plumes act as a powerful, localized fertilizer, stimulating the growth of phytoplankton, the very base of the entire marine food web. This process is a vital living connection, a great biological pump that brings the captured riches of the deep abyss back up to the light, seeding new life in the surface of the sea. The walrus is an Arctic giant, immediately recognizable by its long, formidable tusks. These tusks, which are found on both males and females, are actually two greatly elongated canine teeth that can grow up to 3 feet or 1 meter long. The name for their family, Odobenidae, even means tooth walker, as they will often use their tusks to haul their massive bodies, which can weigh over 3,000 pounds or 1,300 kilograms, out of the water and onto the sea ice. The tusks are also used to maintain breathing holes in the ice for defense, and by males for dominance displays. The walrus's most important tool, however, is its mystacial pad, a broad, sensitive snout covered in hundreds of stiff whiskers, which it uses to feel for and identify its favorite food, clams, in the dark, muddy sediment of the seafloor. The flying fish does not truly fly, but instead performs a magnificent powered glide. When this fish is threatened by an underwater predator, like a tuna or a marlin, it builds up incredible speed just below the surface. It then bursts into the air, beating its tail, which remains in the water, at a speed of up to 50 times per second to provide thrust. Once it is fully airborne, it spreads its unusually large wing-like pectoral fins, catching the air and gliding. It can travel for remarkable distances, with common glides covering 150 feet, or about 45 meters. By adjusting its fins, it can even catch updrafts from the wind, allowing it to stay airborne for over 1,000 feet, or 300 meters. A beautiful silver and desperate leap from its liquid world into the clear, open air. There is a group of ancient, ocean-dwelling creatures known as sea spiders, though they are not true spiders. These animals, called pycnogonids, are a strange and delicate lesson in anatomy. They are almost all legs. Their bodies are so small and slender that many of their internal organs, including parts of their digestive and reproductive systems, are housed inside their long, thin legs. They are slow, patient creatures, found in all oceans, from shallow reefs to the deep, cold abyss. They feed by using a long, straw-like proboscis to suck the juices from soft-bodied invertebrates. Like sea anemones and sponges, they are a fragile and almost skeletal form of life, an ancient and quiet lineage that has been walking the seafloor for over 400 million years. The vast amount of water that fills our oceans may have come from both inside the Earth and from outer space. Our planet is thought to have formed in a hot, dry region of the early solar system. One theory suggests that the water was locked inside the rocks and minerals of the Earth's mantle and was released over millions of years as steam through a period of intense global volcanism, eventually condensing to fill the ocean basins. A second and complementary theory proposes that the water was delivered from the cold outer solar system. During a period called the Late Heavy Bombardment, Earth was struck by countless icy comets and asteroids, which acted as great cosmic water carriers, seeding the young, barren planet with the very liquid that would one day become its great blue heart. The sea foam that lines the shore after waves crash is a beautiful temporary product of the ocean's invisible life. This foam is not just air and water. Its existence depends on a surfactant. In the ocean, this surfactant is a vast dissolved soup of organic matter, primarily the proteins and fats released from the skeletons of countless microscopic dead algae and phytoplankton. When the wind and waves agitate the water, these compounds act like soap, trapping air and creating bubbles that stick together. A large, thick foam bloom is often a sign of a recent, massive, and productive algae bloom offshore. It is the lacy, ephemeral, and physical evidence of the ocean's microscopic, life-giving breath, the final, visible trace of a great, invisible, and microscopic forest. The great barracuda is a master of the ambush, a perfectly designed predator of the tropical reefs. This large, silvery fish, with its torpedo-shaped body and powerful tail, is built for incredible bursts of speed, capable of reaching over 25 miles per hour or 40 kilometers per hour in an instant. It is a lie-in-wait hunter, and its primary weapon is its camouflage. Its pale, silver-grey scales are highly reflective, acting like a mirror to the surrounding water, making it nearly invisible as it hovers, motionless, near the surface or among reef structures. It is drawn to a fast, flashing movement, which it mistakes for the glint of a small, silvery fish. With a single, explosive strike, it uses its fang-like teeth to secure its prey, a silent, silver spear in the sunlit water. The ocean's daily tides are the result of a great, gravitational dance between the Earth, the Moon, and the Sun. The Moon, being so close, exerts the strongest gravitational pull. It gently pulls the water on the side of the Earth nearest to it, creating a high tide bulge. At the same time, it pulls the solid Earth away from the water on the far side, creating a second high tide bulge on the opposite side of the planet. As the Earth rotates through these two bulges, a single coastline experiences two high tides and two low tides roughly every 24 hours and 50 minutes. The Sun also has an influence. When the Sun and Moon align during new and full moons, their gravity combines to create the extra high spring tides, a time when the ocean's pulse is at its strongest. The ocean has a memory of past weather, which is why its temperature is so stable. Water has a very high thermal inertia, or heat capacity, meaning it takes a huge amount of energy to change its temperature. And once that temperature is set, it holds it for a very long time. The land can heat up in the morning and be cold by night, but the ocean patiently absorbs the sun's heat all summer long. It then remembers this warmth, slowly releasing it deep into the autumn and winter, which is why coastal climates are so much milder. In the same way, it remembers the winter's chill far into the spring. The ocean is the planet's great thermal flywheel, a massive liquid balancer that absorbs the world's extremes and gently smooths the passage of the seasons. The pufferfish defends itself by transforming into a spiky, inedible sphere. This fish, which is normally a slow and gentle swimmer, has two remarkable lines of defense. Its first is a potent neurotoxin called tetrodotoxin, which is stored in its skin and internal organs, making it one of the most poisonous vertebrates in the world. Its second, and more famous defense, is its ability to inflate. When threatened, it rapidly gulps water into a special, highly elastic portion of its stomach, swelling its body to several times its normal size. This dramatic transformation suddenly turns the small, soft fish into a large, awkward, and often spiky ball, a mouthful that is almost impossible for a predator to swallow, a sudden and dramatic plea to be left in peace. And so, our journey through the timeless world of our oceans comes to a gentle close. We have drifted for a time on the surface of this great blue heart, listening to its deep, slow rhythm. We heard tales of the immense, crushing dark of the trenches and the living light that fills them. We visited the ancient, patient cities of coral and the silent, drifting mountains of ice. The ocean is the planet's memory, holding the salt of ancient lands, the DNA of the first life, and the quiet, collected dust of eons. It is a world of impossible scale, from the microscopic phytoplankton giving us our breath, to the blue whale, the largest guardian of its mystery. The sea is a place of endless, beautiful contradictions. It is a realm of both the gentle, sunlit glide of the flying fish and the silent, coiled power of the rogue wave. It is the hot, creative fire of the deep-sea vent and the still, cold, eternal darkness of the abyssal plain. Tonight, we have floated over its hidden mountains and its unseen, swirling rivers. We have learned that its breath is our breath, its pulse is our planet's pulse. Now, we leave it to its ancient, quiet work, the endless murmur of the tide on the shore, the great, slow turning of its global currents. If you happen to still be awake, that's perfectly all right. You can simply lie back, let the music keep flowing in the background, and drift in and out of the story at your own pace. But if your eyes are heavy, let the stories of our oceans and the gentle music carry you softly into rest. Sleep well. Good night.